All right, now to the Independent Seaport Museum. This is take 3. First, I forgot the NV filter. Second, forgot the car keys. Now we're good to go, right?
Right.
You didn't forget your wallet, did you?
No, I haven't.
All right, got our wallets. You should always have your ID on you. Right now we're in downtown Philly. Downtown Philly is actually pretty nice. I don't know if you guys can see behind me, or I'll show you a better view when I get from under this tunnel, but Philly is actually pretty nice. At least this downtown portion is. There you go. Yeah, so Philly is pretty nice. I like it. As soon as I walked out, right now we're staying at the Residence Inn in downtown. This is like the nicest Residence Inn I've ever seen. So it's pretty nice. But once you walk out of the hotel, it has like this old world charm to it. Not old world charm, but like this East Coast old charm to it. Like as soon as I walk out, I see like a cathedral, and you know these other buildings. Look, watch that step. It's like a big gulp of spit right there. Do you know where you parked from here?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you need the GPS anymore?
I'm good.
Okay. Oh, that just got really bright. All right, let's see if we can turn that down a little bit. All right, this might be as good as it gets. So we're heading to this parking garage to pick up the car, and I'm following you again.
Okay. Is the camera on?
Yep. Oh, look, it's Maggiano's. Downtown Philly is kind of popping for a Saturday morning. I'm following you. Hopefully this windscreen is actually doing its job. All right, time to find this whip. Hey, she managed not to lose the car. All right, guys, I'll see you at the Seaport Museum. Can't forget to turn the mic on. That's important. We made it to the water. It is a beautiful day on the water. Okay, so I'm in the Seaport Museum, and I didn't realize they actually had this African American history exhibit in here, but I just spent some time in there, and I didn't vlog in there, but you learn so much by going through the history of what African Americans went through during the Middle Passage, being on slave ships, the abolitionist movement, the courage that it took to try to escape. I saw a story about this one 18-year-old girl, Lyra Green, say her name. She stowed away in a chest leaving the port at Baltimore, which was not a free state at the time, to get to Philly, which was free at that time. And she was in that chest for 18 hours. 18 hours stowed away. And the question on the exhibit was, would you have the courage to get into the chest? I just thought it was very powerful. The exhibit showing the shackles that were used on the slaves, the posts where slaves were being sold. But here's that chest, actually. Would you have the courage to get into that chest? Think about it. Some more great quotes in here. One from Thomas Paine was that some desperate wretches should be willing to steal and enslave men by violence and murder for gain is rather lamentable than strange. But that many civilized, nay, Christianized people should approve and be concerned in the savage practice is surprising. Just let that sink in. We gotta move on to the USS New Jersey. We'll see you there. All right, we are now leaving the Independent Seaport Museum, and we are headed to Max's Steaks. Then we're gonna go across the Delaware River to the USS New Jersey. New Jersey. I can see it from here. Hopefully you can see that. We're out here. Philly.
So there's nothing wrong with teaching them the words of God. You said, no, that's too much for them.
All right, so we've made it over to the USS New Jersey. As you can see behind me right there, USS New Jersey. This ship is bigger in real life, like up close. Like we were actually over on the other side of the river over there where you see those other ships, and we were at the sea, what was that museum called that we were just at? Yeah, we were at the Seaport Museum, and so we were at the Seaport Museum and we could see the USS New Jersey from over there, and it looked big, but up close it's even bigger. So I'm excited to see the inside of this thing. Also going to be conducting a training on the USS New Jersey this week, so this will be fun. This will be a fun place to tour. All right, we got some tickets, and now we're headed to this battleship.
All right, the two of yous?
Yep.
All right, awesome. So what you guys are going to do is go through that turnstile, end of the pier, make a right up the stairs. That is where you're going to board the ship.
Thank you. All right, and now we're about to board the ship. I'll give you guys the view that I have right now. It feels different than the Intrepid. Yeah. I guess because it looks like a battleship. Like, I know the Intrepid was a battleship, but so you know, like the cannons and stuff. And now we're stepping onto the ship. Good afternoon.
Welcome. You're about to enter the world's longest battleship ever built. We're almost 3 football fields long.
Nice.
We're gonna head this way. You cannot go in number 1 gun turret, but you can go in number 3 in the back of the ship. It's closed because they're working on it.
Okay.
You're gonna follow this green line across here. And then you'll head up this way. You'll see 2 gray doors up there, one with a green sign. Open that door, go down below. Stay on the green line until you get to the mess decks. You see other colored lines. And then for the mess decks, there's a red, yellow, and blue line, something there to help.
Thank you.
All right.
You better be careful, Georgia. You better be careful. This is the enlisted berthings. These bunks were installed in 1981-82 during the New Jersey's 4th period of service as part of general upgrading of crew living standards. Each bunk or rack measures 19 inches high by 28 inches wide by 80 inches long, often called coffin racks by sailors due to 3 enclosed sides. Each bunk came with privacy curtains and a reading light. Every crew member was assigned his own rack. This would be the only personal space a sailor had on board. Check it out. Checkers.
You got time?
No, like not even a little bit. Are we at 30 already? Yep, we're at 30. So battleships are named after states. Aircraft carriers are named after famous battles or famous ships. Cruisers are named after cities of the United States or territories, with the exception was the USS Canberra, CA-70. Destroyers and destroyer escorts are named after Navy and Marine Corps heroes. The exception was USS Douglas Munro, named after a Coast Guard hero. So 3 warships have actually carried the name USS New Jersey. Between them, they have served through both world wars. Various conflicts of the Cold War, and will continue serving well into the 21st century. Ships carrying the name New Jersey have patrolled the world's oceans and shown the flag in peace and war for over a century. The first ship to carry the name USS New Jersey was a pre-Dreadnought battleship designated BB-16. She participated in the cruise of the Great White Fleet and World War I. After she was sunk by Army aircraft in 1923, it would be 20 years before another New Jersey would be commissioned. Nice. The BB-62 served for 5 decades and became the most decorated battleship in United States Navy history. She survived the coming of aircraft and missiles and even incorporated them into her robust design. Since she was stricken from the Naval Register in 1999, there has been a 20-year gap without a New Jersey in the fleet. But that will change in 2021 with the commissioning of the newest namesake USS New Jersey, SSN 796, a submarine. So the USS New Jersey is actually a submarine now. This is pretty cool. I gotta take a picture of this, babe. It's about the submarine. Okay, so what type of vessel is the USS New Jersey now?
Now? What's up?
Why you guessing? It's a submarine. It said on the bottom of that. Oh, here's a quote. Whenever you fire with the New Jersey, whatever the target was is no longer there. Admiral J. Edward Snyder Jr., Commanding Officer, USS New Jersey. Now we know. Now we know. I gotta be careful. You know, just look at this. You got a duck in here.
I don't.
She doesn't. Oh no, the Houston was sunk. Oh, the Perth was sunk and the Houston was sunk. Ah, okay. They're talking about 2 ships that were sunk. Sunk by the Japanese. What were they sunk by? Torpedoes. Torpedoes strike Perth. Captain Waller orders abandon ship before he is killed. Torpedoes strike Houston. Yeah. Well, look who's living in luxury. Executive officer stateroom. Of course, the XO's living like a king.
Right.
Oh, you gotta take a look at this. Naval Battle of Guadalcanal. This painting depicts the height of combat during the Naval Battle of Guadalcanal, one of the Solomon Islands in the South Pacific. To the right is the destroyer USS Olympia, firing her guns at the Japanese battleship Hai. On the foreground, to the far right, is the destroyer USS Laffey in her final moments before complete submersion. Admiral Halsey was awarded 5-star for life. And now we have the USS Halsey. The second USS Halsey is an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer commissioned May 30th, 2005. Under the direction of Commander Paul J. Schleiss, the USS Halsey is currently docked in San Diego. Between her twin missions of combat and delivering humanitarian aid throughout the Pacific. Throughout his career, Admiral William F. Halsey commanded on land, sea, and in air, aligning himself with a competent and versed staff. They researched, planned, and executed some of the great naval battles of World War II. Living in a period of innocence and generalizations, he made assumptions and took risks others might not have. Whether we praise or condemn the actions he took during the war in the Pacific, his legacy is one that lives on in the United States naval history. There we go. I'll tell you this is actually harder carrying a camera and vlogging. It's a lot harder. Alright, we made it out here. The Delaware River separating Philadelphia and Camden, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. All right, on the way to the USS Olympia. Take a look at that. Watch out, babe. Okay, we just gotta follow the blue line. Let's get a little bit more light for myself. That's a little bit better. Okay. The unknown soldier aboard Olympia. Oh, they say that minority sailors generally held shipboard service positions as that was the only capacity that they could actually serve in. Okay, so there was one lost American hero who was selected as the unknown soldier. The unspeakable perils of World War I did not cease on the battlefield. In reality, they continued aboard the very ship on the journey back to the United States. During the voyage, treacherous weather threatened the Olympia, the crew, and the mortal remains, which nearly amounted to being violently lost at sea, equating to a national disaster. The drama of the return of the unknown soldier's remains has fallen into obscurity until now. One lone soldier's remains were selected to symbolize the nation's indebtedness for all United States service members who died in combat. Congress authorized the establishment of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in 1921 as a memorial for the thousands of American families whose loved ones were lost and never identified as a consequence of World War I. In recognition of his extraordinary service, the unknown soldier received the highest military honors after his death. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier remains today as a place for Americans to reflect on the personal costs of duty and sacrificing and preserving freedom throughout the world. So the USS Olympia finally arrived at Pier 3, Washington Navy Yard on the cold, overcast afternoon on November 9th, 1921. It was then the time to transfer the care and protection of the unknown soldier from the Navy and the Marines to the Army. The highest ranking representatives from those military divisions were dockside to witness the arrival and transfer. Olympia's crew and Marines performed the prescribed Navy disembarking ceremonies for the lone unidentified soldier, typically reserved for the highest ranking military officers. A combination of 4 sailors and 4 Marines were given the honor to solemnly carry the soldier's casket down the gangway, signifying the final step on the long journey home. Possibly Olympia's most challenging and vital mission, also coincidentally her last, was now complete. From dockside, the unknown soldier was taken to the Capitol building and 2 days later to Arlington National Cemetery to finally be laid to rest as the cherished American icon we know today. There's a stateroom where only high-ranking officers were allowed to be in. During the Battle of Manila Bay, in a furnace room that only Dante could portray, they heard the din and felt the shock of battle. In the hutches, a voice would call, "How are you making it?" An answer like, "Just sunk another torpedo boat," or "The Reina Cristina is all afire," would drive them wild with joy. They would make manifest by beating upon the furnace doors with their shovels. At the bottom of the chain of command, seamen were workforce aboard ship. Each had their assigned daily jobs and other tasks during a variety of emergency drills or battle stations. Each crew member answered to a strict chain of command leading up to the captain of the ship. There was a 1-to-12 ratio of officers to crew. Olympia was originally outfitted with 10 5-inch guns and 4 8-inch guns in 2 turrets. So it was saying right there that ammunition was held in special compartments, and then they traveled up to this deck via an elevator, and they were carefully handled by the crew that was in charge of the guns so that they didn't have any accidents. You can tell that ammunition was very dangerous, also very necessary, a resource that they could not afford to have casualties with. The war with Spain in 1898. The Spanish-American War was the United States' first global conflict of the modern era. Spurred by the imperialist efforts of the old European powers, the United States was bent on gaining territory, resources, and establishing new markets in the Pacific. Expansionist zeal increased an already tense relationship with Spain. With the mysterious explosion of the battleship USS Maine in Havana Harbor in February of 1898, and with the yellow journalism influencing popular opinion at home, the conflict was ignited. So it sounds like the United States thought that the USS Maine was blown up by the Spaniards, I guess. Okay, so from the first commissioning of one of the highlights was the flagship. It was the flagship of Battle of Manila Bay. And for the second commissioning from 1902 to 1906, highlights were Olympia led fleet maneuvers experimenting how new wireless telegraphy might be used in Navy communications. Olympia Marines participated in joint maneuvers exploring their new role as landing forces. They led the marking of boundaries of the proposed coaling station at Guantanamo Bay. Okay, and Theodore Roosevelt was the president at that time. The third commissioning was 1907 and 1916, part of the Atlantic Fleet Reserve in Annapolis. Highlights were Olympia stood off the coast of Progreso, Mexico in 1915 when Mexican-American relations were strained. Forward and aft turrets were replaced with 4-inch 40 cals. Attended the Jamestown Landing Tercentennial celebrations. And in the fourth commissioning from 1917 to 1922, part of the Atlantic Fleet Reserve, American Expeditionary Force in Northern Russia, U.S. Naval Forces in Eastern Mediterranean Adriatic, Reserve Station at Philadelphia Navy Yard. Highlights include a Fessenden oscillator was installed for enemy submarine detection, enabling the escorting of Allied merchant vessels across the Atlantic. Supported the Russian Provisional Government in an Allied mission to Murmansk and Arkhangelsk, northern Russia, and transported the unknown soldier from France for interment at Arlington National Cemetery. Okay. President at the time was Woodrow Wilson and Warren G. Harding. Not Warren G. and corrupt. Oh, and Olympia is named after the city of Olympia, Washington, in Washington State. So during World War One, the USS Olympia, they did coastal defense, patrolling the eastern seaboard and protecting merchant shipping. They were part of interventionism in northern Russia as part of the Allied effort, humanitarian peacekeeping in the Adriatic Sea during the armistice, and then the unknown soldiers transport home from France to Arlington National Cemetery in D.C. And here's a fun fact about the Olympia. It is the oldest surviving steel warship afloat. It is the oldest surviving steel warship afloat. Olympia requires constant maintenance. Since acquiring the ship in 1996, Independent Seaport Museum has worked tirelessly to preserve the ship for future generations. However, the ship has not been dry docked since 1945. In 2014, the museum reaffirmed its commitment to preserving Olympia in perpetuity and is seeking funding to dry dock Olympia as soon as possible. What does dry dock mean?